This is CBN NewsWatch.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm George Thomas. We have reports the internet is slowly being turned back on in Iran, perhaps a sign that Iranian leaders believe that the nationwide anti-government protests are under control. But are they? CBN News reporter Dale Hurt joins us with the latest. Dale.
George, these have been the worst protests against the Islamic Republic in 10 years, and they were only suppressed with deadly violence. It's unclear whether this unrest has stopped or only paused. This phone video shows Iranian government forces using live ammunition on protesters and also firing from helicopters after Iranian citizens burned police stations and government buildings in as many as 100 different locations. Hundreds of protesters may have been killed. The unrest was triggered by a sudden 50% rise in fuel prices, but quickly became an insurrection against Iran's Islamic rulers. Iran's economy continues to worsen from U.S. sanctions and falling oil revenue. The World Bank says Iran's economy is expected to shrink by almost 9% this year, and it's the Iranian people outside of government who bear the brunt of it.
The protests are triggered by economic grievances. However, according to the footage that we have seen from different cities across the country, many people are also chanting anti-establishment slogans. They are calling for a radical overhaul of the political system.
With Iran's already horrible economy expected to worsen, it's all but certain there will be more protests.
The protests, given the situation in Iran, are bound to continue. These crackdowns cannot stop the grievances that people have. And instead of giving the security forces the green light to commit further bloodshed,
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo tweeted in Farsi asking Iranians to post videos and news on Twitter of the government's violent crackdown, and today announced sanctions on the Iranian official responsible for shutting down the Iranian internet. George?
Dale, on the subject of the internet, U.S. Ambassador to Germany Richard Grenell tweeted that the U.S. could turn Iran's internet back on. Can it?
Sort of, but experts say it's not a single switch that would be thrown somewhere. It would be something like encrypted phone apps connected to secret servers inside Iran, or servers linked to satellites, or peer-to-peer networks that would go around Iran's internet wall. But it would be complicated, and as far as we know, not something the U.S. has attempted.
Okay, terrific. Dale, thanks for staying on top of this. Appreciate it. One other item from overseas. Pro-democracy advocates are praising legislation passed by Congress that lends strong support for freedom in Hong Kong. The act requires tough action, sanctions against government officials responsible for violating human rights and committing acts of violence against protesters in Hong Kong. China has warned it will retaliate against the U.S. if Trump signs a bill supporting the protests. President Trump said in an interview on Fox that he's the reason China hasn't taken steps to crush the protests.
If it weren't for me, Hong Kong would have been obliterated in 14 minutes. He's got 1 million soldiers standing outside of Hong Kong that aren't going in only because I ask him, please don't do that. You'll be making a big mistake. It's going to have a tremendous negative impact on the trade deal.
Okay.
Trump didn't say whether he'd veto the bill, but said we have to stand with Hong Kong, but I am also standing with President Xi. Those are the words of the president. Joining us now to discuss the role the Hong Kong protests have on American economies, Dan Celia, President of Financial Issues Stewardship Ministries. Dan, great to have you back on the show. So President Trump says he supports the pro-democracy demonstrations in Hong Kong. Do you think he will sign the democracy bill?
Well, I think he's going to postpone it. I think he's going to sit on it for a little while. I do think he'll sign it. I understood this morning that it's likely that he is going to sign the bill. It's very, very interesting, George, because when they first passed the bills, the communist regime of China came out and was very angry about that and said, America, stay out of our business. But it was interesting because China, right after that, said, we are inviting a trade delegation here to talk about trade. So they wanted to send a message to President Trump. Yes, we're angry, but we're not so angry. We don't want to finish this trade deal. Yeah. So that shows President Trump building some strength within the regime. But this is a real problem. It is causing economic problems here in America and around the world. The economy, GDP has already been downgraded in Hong Kong. The economy is going to continue to worsen in Hong Kong. Of course, that's hurting a lot of countries that export various things to Hong Kong. Hong Kong is a bit of a financial center to China, for China. Yeah. So it is going to hurt them as well. This could only get worse.
Yeah, China has called the bill a piece of waste paper and has warned that if the president signs the bill, Beijing, according to Beijing, they will take effective measures to counteract it. What do you think China could do if the president signs the bill?
The only thing they can do really is walk away from any kind of trade deal and walk away from it for a very long time. I don't know how that would be possible. There are rumors that they're going to sell the U.S. dollar. They can't. The only thing they can really do is walk away from the trade deal. And they can't do that either, or they can, but it's going to hurt in dramatic fashion their economy for a number of reasons, because everybody's going to be anticipating the pain down the road, so they're going to feel that a little bit faster. But you know, I know a lot of people are speculating that they're going to sell U.S. Treasuries. But you know what, George? We've got to keep this in mind. China can't do anything without U.S. dollars. Nobody wants their currency. Out of all the goods they buy, only 3% of it is bought with yuan, with their currency. Everything else is bought with U.S. dollars. Yeah. And we forget that all the time. They need us. They don't like it, but
Dan,
there's certain things that you need.
Yeah, I'm going to have to cut you short there. We're wrapping up time here. Thank you. I appreciate you coming on the show, sir.
You're welcome, George.
Okay.
Thank you.
You have a great weekend. The House Intelligence Committee wrapped up its televised testimony in the impeachment inquiry against the president. Fiona Hill, a former national security official, recounted a meeting between Ukrainian officials and EU Ambassador Gordon Sondland. She testified Sondland told her he laid out conditions for a White House meeting after getting directives from Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney.
Ambassador Sondland leaned in basically to say, well, we have an agreement that there will be a meeting if specific investigations are put underway.
Ms. Hill went on to say that when National Security Advisor John Bolton learned of that meeting, he ordered her to report it to the White House counsel and to tell the counsel that he had nothing to do with, quote, whatever drug deal Mulvaney and Sondland are cooking up. Hill, by the way, was the final witness. Now the Intelligence Committee will submit a report to the Judiciary Committee to decide whether to draw up articles of impeachment. Pennsylvania's Democratic governor has vetoed a bill protecting babies diagnosed in the womb with Down syndrome. Governor Tom Wolf had said he would reject the bill if it made it to his desk. Pennsylvania state law allows for abortions up to 24 weeks of pregnancy for any reason, except in cases where it is used for gender selection. This bill would have added Down syndrome. Republicans who control the state Senate said it would have protected a vulnerable population whose lives are productive. Be sure to catch up on the latest from our nation's capital this evening on Faith Nation. As always, you can watch it right here on the CBN News Channel. Coming up, tensions in the Middle East not slowing down as violent protests continue to grip Iraq.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
Prophecy thousands of years old.
We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is, this is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
By sharing their knowledge.
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
And their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
Welcome back to the CBN News Channel. It has been another day of deadly violence in Baghdad as hundreds of Iraqis continue to protest against rampant government corruption there. 3 people were killed and at least 25 wounded on Friday as demonstrators clashed with Iraqi security forces. At least 320 protesters have been killed and thousands injured since unrest began in early October. CBN News contributor Chuck Holton joins me now. Chuck, what is behind the violent demonstrations?
Well, it's just an anger at the ruling elite. I mean, here, let's contrast Iraq with Kuwait, for example. So Kuwait has about 8% of the world's proven oil reserves. Iraq has about 10%. But Kuwait gives every one of its citizens over $40,000 a year. And Iraq doesn't give its citizens anything, but that money from their oil is going someplace. And the people that are protesting are saying, we're not getting any of this. We're not even getting essential services. We can't get medical care. And so they're just angry at that. And they've, traditionally the conflict in Iraq has been between Shia and Sunni. This one crosses all lines.
To that point, Chuck, Iraq, as you know, has seen waves of protests in the last decade. But this, to me, seems to be the largest since Saddam Hussein was removed in 2003. Do you share my views?
Yes, it certainly is. And I think that now it's focused a lot more on Iran because, Iran has had so much influence. They have exerted so much influence over the Iraqi government since the United States left. And in fact, the Shia government of Iraq is basically a puppet government of Iran. Now, we have a report coming out just today of 700 pages of classified information that's been released on the Iranian intelligence operation that has basically been their game plan to control all aspects of life in Iraq since 2009. So, I'm sorry, since 2003 when the United States first went in there. So, I mean, that certainly is stoking the anger of people who say we should have a piece of some of this oil wealth.
Yeah, and as we see these demonstrations on our screen, some of it, as you mentioned, obviously about the prices of oil and other, lack of essential items like the electricity being turned on. But they're also angry, as you said, about Iran and Iran's growing influence in their country, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like I say, Iran has made a concerted effort since 2003 to take advantage of the chaos in Iraq, to infiltrate their agents into the highest levels of government there, and to have a massive influence over that country. Iran and Iraq have never really been friends, but this new report that's come out just shows the depth of just how pervasive Iranian influence is in Iraq. And when I was in Iraq just a few weeks ago on my way into Syria, I talked to several Iranians who are doing business in Erbil, and they're saying that, well, things are so bad in Iran, a lot of Iranians are coming over to Iraq because they can make more money there. Well, so that's got to stoke those tensions too, as the unemployment rate is so high, and these Iraqis are seeing Iranians come over and take some of their jobs.
Okay, terrific. Thank you for your analysis, sir. Appreciate you coming on the show as always. Have a great weekend, man.
All right, you too.
Thank you. Still ahead, how one NFL player hopes his story inspires others.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5, Wednesday night at 9:30.
Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com to get your copy today.
Welcome back to the CBN News Channel. The NFL Shamarko Thomas has quite a story that he hopes inspires others. CBN's Sean Brown found out he's overcome multiple obstacles. He tells us more in this look at what's ahead on this week's Going the Distance.
Shamarko Thomas grew up in a troubled background that turned around when his mother married his stepfather. Yet he lost both of them during his college years playing football at Syracuse. But God used it to change his life, and he found a way to turn the loss into motivation on the field and in life.
NFL safety Shamarko Thomas has built a reputation for himself as an aggressive, hard-hitting player with a work ethic that many would argue is second to none. His go-out-and-get-after-it attitude is one that he acquired growing up in Virginia Beach, Virginia, with his mom and 5 siblings.
Describe what your mom was like. How do you remember your mother?
She was the ultimate leader. She was my father and my mom. My mom was different. She wasn't the mom that, oh, I love you type. She was that tough mom, oh, boy, you better get up, no crying type stuff.
Shamarko's mother, Ebeth, gave birth to him when she was 15. He didn't really know his father. Growing up, he saw things no child should have to witness.
My mom had boyfriends that I remember we used to hide out from them, stuff like that, you know. See my mom get burnt by iron by a dude.
Shamarko didn't trust men around his mother, so when she married Abdul Rahim Shabazz, he didn't like him. But over time, they slowly began to bond.
I think football brought us together, you know, and just seeing the way he treated my mom, taking her out on dates and stuff like that. I'd never seen that before with another man.
The family grew with the addition of his sister and 4 brothers. For him, life couldn't be better until his father violated his mother's trust.
He broke her heart, you know, cheated on my mom. And
did they separate?
Separated. My dad separated, yeah. He moved with the lady.
The first man Shamarko had ever trusted left his mother with 6 children to raise by herself, and he was furious.
And my mom working at McDonald's and stuff, you know, so I think that all the anger inside of me just built up, and I just started hanging around the wrong crowd and doing the wrong things.
His activities grabbed the attention of school faculty members Jim Prince and Chris Scott, Shamarko's football coaches, as well as Leslie Riccio, his guidance counselor, and Sergeant Adam Bernstein, the school's resource officer. And they all intervened to help him deal with his anger and the reasons behind it.
Instantly, I was drawn to him, and I thought, this kid is going to be my project for this year.
I wanted to make him feel comfortable and kind of reward him for feeling comfortable with me without even knowing me.
He'd never let you in, but when he knew that you cared, then that's where things started to reveal themselves.
During that year, Shamarko had a few encounters with Sergeant Adam Bernstein, but one day after school, he caught Shamarko in a street brawl. The next day, called him down to his office.
I sat him down and I said, there's a lot of colleges out there that'll give you a free education if you use football and if you're good enough.
And he was like, I care about you and I want to see you succeed. I feel like somebody really cares, especially an officer, you know. Where I'm coming from, you know, officers don't like us.
Now I read somewhere that both of you broke down and started crying. Is that true?
Yeah, I didn't want to say that.
Those words hit home for Shamarko. By his senior year, he was an honor roll student, was elected homecoming king, and set records for tackles, interceptions, and defensive touchdowns. He accepted a scholarship offer to play football for Syracuse University.
Sitting there, signing that paper, and veering to the left and seeing my mom cry, you know, a joy. You know, that's the first time I seen her cry of joy instead of pain. And that just changed my whole life.
When Shamarko arrived at Syracuse, he quickly built a reputation for his work ethic and hard-hitting style of play. But the spring of 2010 ushered in a season that would crush him harder than any hit he ever delivered on the field. And it began with a call he received from his mother.
She was like, I just want to tell you I love you and you my chosen one, you know, and if anything happened to me, you know, I just want you to live out your dreams. And I'm like, I'm just throwing it off like, okay, Mom, you know, I got you, you know.
The next day, Shamarko received a voicemail from his younger brother.
He's like, Mama gone. And man, I lost it.
Shamarko's mother died from a massive heart attack. He returned home as quick as he could to be strong for his 5 siblings. And he managed to do so until he went to view his mother's body.
It was only 2 seconds, but I couldn't sit in that room. I couldn't stay in that room. Man.
After the funeral, Shamarko considered giving up school and football to take care of his siblings. But his grandmother was able to take care of them so he could return to school. He began looking for something to ease the pain in his heart. So he turned to some of his Christian teammates.
One day I just started getting interested in it. I just started watching. I'm like, man, let me go sit here and listen to them and talk about God and stuff. And then I started hearing the solutions and my answers and people as they was talking. That's when I realized I really had to find out who God was, you know.
You can see Shamarko's full story on Going the Distance and learn how he's navigated his career in the NFL with his faith intact. We'll see you then.
A powerful story. As Sean mentioned, you can catch Going the Distance with him this weekend on the CBN News Channel, Saturday at 6:30 and Sunday at 7:30, both Eastern Time. After the break, how one organization is working to spread the gospel across America. That story in a moment.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
From Washington, D.C., uncompromising stories, interviews, and analysis from veteran journalists David Brody.
Escalating fight.
Jenna Browder.
Chose his words carefully.
Ben Kennedy.
Plan to join him.
And Amber Strong.
For impeachment grows a little bit louder.
Bringing you the political news that matters.
We get out and tell the story of the progress that we're making in this country.
Watch Faith Nation, weeknights at 6 on the CBN News Channel.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
As the nations rage, you can stand with Israel.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
Call 1-800-700-7000 and get to life.
This is our nature as a country.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he has, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
Support Israel in their time of need. Get to Life, now available on DVD. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
And I wish that other people throughout the world could see this side of Israel.
A one-day event to promote the gospel in cities across the world is on the move. Those called to lead these gatherings are individuals with a vision for God, accelerating a gospel movement in their city. Individuals eager to link arms with other leaders who desire to see the body of Christ come together. Charlene Aaron attended one rally in Newport News, Virginia, and shows us what's behind this new effort.
Pastors from this part of Virginia met at New Beach Grove Baptist in Newport News to discuss the best ways to reach their cities for God. It's all part of something called Movement Day, a global initiative being used to bring churches together.
We're praying for laborers.
Richard Young of First Baptist Church Newport News felt challenged in coordinating the event.
So many of the churches are doing so much already that it's tough to take the step back and say, how can I collaborate with you?
Pastor Willard Maxwell answered the call by opening the doors of his church, New Beach Grove Baptist, to foster greater unity and collaboration.
This wasn't even my event, but when they said Movement Day, they needed a building, I said, let's come on. It doesn't matter who gets credit.
I am believing that God will use our time together like an urban upper room.
Mac Peer, founder of Movement Day, says rapid city growth presents unique opportunities for cooperation as local churches work to meet community needs while also sharing the gospel.
We really want the body of Christ to have a very powerful expression of unity in that city. To recognize that we really do belong to each other, that we are God's new society. We really want to understand the greatest challenges facing a city, both spiritually and socially. And we want to see measurable progress over the course of 10 years.
Board member Bishop Claude Alexander of the Park Church in Raleigh, North Carolina, sees positive results coming from these gatherings held in cities across the globe.
I've seen, number one, people who would not normally enter into a room together because they're either center right or center left. I've seen them come into the same room and to realize their commonness. Their commonness in the gospel, their commonness in concerns, their shared desire to see the gospel flourish and the kingdom be advanced.
And that's the ultimate goal, one movement and one city at a time. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Indeed, an inspiring movement. Well, folks, that is it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen by emailing newswatch@cbn.com, or you can reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We hope you will have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Enjoy yourself, be safe out there, and from all of us here at CBN News, goodbye and God bless you.